What is up, everybody? It is your local Ottawa fan, and I am here today to talk to you about the 3-2 win against the New York Sirens, our third win in a row. First time in Charge history that they win three in a row, and all three are in regulation. It's not their first 9-point streak. They did have a streak where they got 16 points due to a mix of like overtime and shootout losses and wins. They once had a 7-game point streak, so not their longest streak in terms of amount of points gotten in said point streak, but still really good response. If you remember my Minnesota video 3 games ago, I was not happy. We did not look all that good against Minnesota, and in this game, we showed up, we got the win, and this is the third game in a row that we've won. And what a way to end the road trip. The road trip, I was thinking at the start of it, like this could make or break our season, and we could tank our season super early. If we end up, 2 games, 2 losses, both in regulation, if we end up only getting like 3 points out of the road trip, that is horrible, and that puts us in an awful situation going into the next leg of the season. Instead, we get 3 straight wins and put ourselves in I don't want to say a comfortable position, because we've been here before. We know what happened last season. We thought we were doing all right. Then the bottom falls out and we miss the playoffs. Even right now, Toronto is early returns, not looking good. In 8 games played, they have just 7 points. That's below NHL 500. And this is the PWHL, where our games are worth 3 points, not 2. So that is not good for them at all. Their point percentage is .292. That is not good by any stretch of the imagination. And that was the story last season, eh? Bad start to the season for Toronto. I said in a video, and I got egg on my face, I said they look like the first bad team in PWHL history. Well, I was eating crow, wasn't I? Because they turned it around, rattled off 11 straight victories, finished first in the league. So I'm not about to start celebrating. I'm not going to pop any champagne. I'm not even going to say that Toronto's out of it yet. I think that maybe they can hover above the panic button, but that's what I said about us. And I don't think anyone in Ottawa is hitting the panic button right now. A lot can change. And we've played 8 games. That means that there's still 22 games left in the season. There is a lot of hockey left to be played. But we've put ourselves in a way better position than where it looked like we would be 3 games ago. 3 games ago, things we're looking not great. And now we've gotten through the road trip. Now we've had 6 of our 15 away games. And really, like I say, it's 14. We have 14 home and 14 away games because we have 1 home game that is not played in Ottawa, 1 away game where it is played at a neutral site. I know Quebec's probably going to lean a bit more to Montreal, but still. We've only had 2 home games. We've only had 2. So the rest of the season, we're going to get to have a lot more games in Ottawa. And if we can take advantage of home ice advantage, this road trip, coming out of it above 500 in the season standings, above 500 on the road trip, win 3, lose 2. That's a good road trip. That is a good 5-game road trip. We then, later in the season, starting in February, we're going to get right after the break, right after the, I believe it's for the break for the IHF, we're going to get a nice 5-game homestand. And if we can make good use of that, if we can get 3 or 4 or 5 wins there, that it is steps towards success. So I'm not going to sit here and say, we did it, kumbaya, but we're in a much better place than we were a little while. Like again, just 3 games ago, things weren't looking great, and we've started to turn things around. First reason why, the biggest reason why, far and away, is Emryn Smashmeyer. Emryn Smashmeyer, in my opinion, right now is leading the race for goaltender of the year. GAA is 2. A flat, even 2. And this game is the first time in 3 games that she had a multi-goal game. She held New York to 1, Toronto to 1, New York to 2. And as I think throughout the season, most of her games, she's very solid at keeping it under 2 goals. She's really good at that, keeping it under 3 goals. Our loss to Boston, she was in net, allowed I think 3. Okay, it's not amazing, but it's not terrible. But what is amazing is the save percentage. 935, highest in the league. Big time highest in the league. 935 save percentage. And she is the only goaltender with 200 saves. Now, she has played 7 games, which I believe ties her for the most games played. But if you were to look at all the other goalies and the amount of saves that they have, no one is going to get to 200 saves in 7 games. No one. There's a few at 6, and they're at like 110 saves. I'm sorry, but I don't see them making, or a few at 5 who are at 110, and I don't see them making, 90 saves across 2 games. I just don't see them having a 45 save night followed by another 45 save night. I don't think that's realistic. She's committed some straight robbery, and now the team's actually getting the goals to support that. Now we're actually getting, and we still offensively are not the best. We still are on the lower end of goals, but it's in the mix. It's a lot more in the mix, I feel, where it feels like, we can get, 2-3 goals and hold and play well defensively. This is a perfect example. 3 goals isn't like a huge amount, but with Mashmeyer and net, it's enough. You get 3 goals, let her do the rest. We're going to be fine. And that's exactly what happened. Sardakny. I got to call out Sardakny, who's been looking great. Huge pickup in the draft. She's come as advertised. Don't know what else to say. Goal in this game. Just great play. Victoria Bach really, or Batch, I think. My pronunciation's never amazing, and I've always got to look. I always research it right before I make the video, and then I make the video and I forget. That's just what happens, right? You're like, I'm going to remember how to pronounce the name, and then I sit down in front of the camera and I'm like. But in either case, the early returns are really good. And the chemistry she has with Sardakny is really good. And out the gate, that's looking good. I was a bit more vocal to my opposition of that trade. I was like, but we'll see. And so far, it's been okay. And speaking of trades that I was vocally against, I have to apologize, Dark Angelo. I wasn't familiar with your game. I mean, I was familiar that you were a very, exceptional player. Captained your team to a championship in 23. Like, don't get me wrong, I got that. But I'll admit it. When the trade happened, I was not in favor of it. I thought that Lexi Adja, and I do not want to be throwing any shade at Adja here. I cannot stress enough that Lexi Adja is a player who I adore and who I think is great, and I wish she was still on the team. Don't get me wrong. And, she's sorely missed here in Ottawa, and I wish her nothing but the best in Boston. But all of that to say, when the trade happened, I thought Adja was having the better season, had the better trajectory, and I was like, okay, well, let's see what you got, Darkangelo. 1 point, 1 assist. Meanwhile, Adja was getting clutch goals for Boston that ultimately really mattered because Boston just barely edged us out for that final playoff spot. So last season, I was not happy with that trade. This season, at least initially, the early returns suggest that this is what we should have expected. This is what we're getting. Darkangelo at 3 goals on the season so far in 8 games. It's way more acceptable. And Adja has had a bit of a slower start. 1 assist in 9 games. This makes that trade way, way, way better for us. It's an easier pill for me to swallow. And I gotta say, as somebody who was, of course I was happy to have Darkangelo on the team, but as somebody who really questioned that trade, if this is how things continue to go, and Darkangelo ends the season with like 10 goals, and Agia finishes with like, 5 or 6 points, and we make the playoffs and Boston doesn't, I'd be able to say, you know what? Not a bad trade. And right now, things are looking good. Obviously, Emily Clark looking great. Jinsey Rose has had a very good season so far, and I think that it is a huge step up from her previous season, which I also thought was good, but I think this season she's just, entered that upper echelon of what she's capable of. Brianne Jenner obviously looking good, especially that she missed a few games. I think a lot of the key players, the big players that we needed to step up have. And that has made a world of difference. Let's break down the game. It starts with lots of action, lots of shots early on, fast pace. Immediately, New York scores. Under 5 minutes, New York gets the first goal of the game, and we are in an early hole, but it does not take long to respond. Literally traded on the 30th of December. December 31st. Her first game with the new team, and then the game after that, she gets a great play, an amazing pass, Serdachny right on the doorstep to just slam it home. Ottawa goal, 1-1, all tied up, and it doesn't take much longer, because just as things are settling down, we got a little bit of a weird bounce. The puck is bouncing off the board. It bounces off the ref's skate right to Darkangelo, and what have I been saying all season, all of last season, all of this season? I've been saying you need to find a way to score on those weird bounces, those weird scrambles in front of the net, where the goalie doesn't see the puck, where the goalie's just out of position. We got to find a way to get a stick on the puck, get it in the net. When you have an easy goal, take it, and Darkangelo takes it. Boom, and just like that, all of a sudden, it's 2-1 Ottawa. Blinking, you miss it. I would say like that action from the first New York goal to 2-1 Ottawa. I mean, it was a thrilling watch for me. I think it was a thrilling watch for everyone at home. And that's the other thing I'm gonna have to touch on. And it was a thrilling watch for the people at the game, I'm sure. But the people at the game were few and far between. When I looked at the final numbers of the fans at the game, it was there's no easy way to put it. It was abysmal. Little under 1,600 people, not 16,000. 16,000 would have been a huge success. 1,600. They didn't even have 2,000 people. I get it. It's a Tuesday game. I do. Middle of the week. I do get that. I get that, it's the Tuesday as things are starting to kind of get back to the holiday break being over. But, I mean, come on. We can do better than that. I know we can. And New York and Boston have kind of worried me with the attendance so far. Obviously, location-wise, Boston and New York, it's not the best. And as a Sens fan, I get it. The location of where your team plays is a huge factor in your ability to see games. I don't have Sens season tickets. Now, a part of the reason is the price, but I don't get those flex packs either, which are probably roughly the same as Red Black season tickets, as Charge season tickets, and I have both of those. So why don't I? Because I don't want to go all the way out to Canada a whole bunch. I go to a few Sens games this season, don't get me wrong. I've already gone to 2 so far this season, and I'm going to be probably going to at least another 2 or 3. I'm probably going to go to, 5. But I'd go to a whole lot more if they were accessible or more accessible for me. So yes, I do totally get it. If you're in New York or you're in Boston and you're saying, look, I'd go to games if they were accessible, if they were close by. They aren't. I mean, New York plays in New Jersey. They don't play in the state that they are a team of, so I do get it. But 1,600 is an extremely low number. And they didn't even get to 1,600. It was less. It was like 1,560 something. Like, that's not where we should be. And we had other games this week in the Takeover Tours that showed, Seattle, over 12,000 people. Vancouver, sellout, 19,000 people. So it's not a league issue. The league is doing fine. The league is growing. There is going to be expansion. But I want there to be expansion and not relocation. And that is a scary, scary sign to see so few people at any game. Because unless there was like an all-time terrible storm, but at that point just cancel the game. That's not enough. 1,500, 2,000, it's not enough. I'm pretty sure, I think at like some of the worst charge games last season, when we were in the dumps and it was a middle of the week game, we would still easily crack like 4. I'm just saying it's not a great look. It's not a great look. And I know that New York fans are dedicated fans. I know this. I know that number can get way higher. I know that it can sell out. I do. So I hope that this is just a one-time thing and that trajectory can get better. Because the league itself, at least from where I stand, from where I'm looking, it's doing fine. 4 of the teams are getting consistently like a lot of people at their games, and the Takeover Tours have been complete successes. They've been very successful. The CTC game, over 11,000 fans. These are successful successes. Successful successes. No other way to put it. But it'd be nice to see these games have more people. But after that 2-1 goal, we're taking control. And I think that's what made me really happy about this game. That's why I'm in such bright spirits, in such a good mood. Because the Toronto game, we stole a win. Now, I'm happy that we were able to steal a win, that we were able to steal a regulation win. But stealing wins is not sustainable. You need to have games where you just straight up beat your opponent. We straight up beat our opponent. And we did this last time we played New York and the first time we played Toronto. So those games let me see this team as a good competitive team that can outwork you, that can outplay you, that can beat you in every aspect of the game and beat you where it counts. And also, sometimes Maschmeyer's just going to lock in, let only 1 goal in, and despite the fact that you outplay us, you outskate us, you outshoot us, you won't outscore us. So, and that's what you need. That's what you need if you want to be a winning team. And right now, these past 3 games, that's what we've been. And throughout the first period, I cannot stress enough how good our new pickups looked. Really good. Really strong period. Second period, again, like I said, going into the players I listed as having good games are players who either already had points or were going to get points, with Botch, Darkangelo, Serdachny. The other ones I mentioned were Clark, Jenner, and Boyd, who would be the ones who would get points in the second period. And we start off strong. Less than 5 minutes, we take our first penalty of the game. This is a game where, again, we took a lot of penalties, and I think that's a problem, but we killed them all off. We did do a good job of killing off our penalties. We have a very good penalty kill. We almost got our first jailbreak of the season. Clark almost scores, gets denied. Not long after that, she says, well, you're not going to deny me twice. Gets another break, and just like that, Emily Clark scores. 3-1. Ottawa takes a 2-goal lead. This would ultimately go on to be the game-winning goal. And we take another penalty. Again, we're like, after the 3-1 goal, we were really in control of play. And then we take a penalty. And it's like, we could have snuffed them out, but no. Another penalty, another good kill. McMahon gets a breakaway. It's saved. But again, I'm liking all the chances that we're getting. We have a horrible giveaway, though. Another penalty. This is a penalty that I actually agree with taking. It's one of the penalties that I'm able to say, you know what? Okay, it was a penalty that you need to take because you're giving the other team a break, and we don't want that. And we survive yet another kill. Like I said, 4 penalties, 4 penalty kills, no problem. Right after that penalty kill, guess where we are? In their zone, looking strong, playing well. It was a good game. It was a good game. They stayed aggressive. They stayed competitive. They didn't give him an inch. And how do we start? The third period. You guessed it, another penalty. We get another kill. Just, again, 4-0. The penalties were 4-0 in favor of New York. And it's not even like I'm going to sit here and be like, oh, that was unfair. The penalties were legit. They were legit. We got to take less penalties. And this period, New York's keeping pace with us a lot better. We get burned. New York snipes one. It's a 1-goal game. It's 3-2. 13 minutes left. But again, we play really well. New York kept the third period, I think, way more interesting. But Jenner had a very good chance denied. Snodgrass with a few close calls. Our initial response after getting scored was really good. And I was like, we need to just keep up that pace for the rest of the game. And we did. We kept up that pace for the rest of the game. We didn't take any penalties. We took control of play. They pull the goalie and nothing comes of it. Time winds down. Game over. Ottawa wins 3-2. This is the type of hockey game you'll want to see from the Ottawa Charge. This is the type of game. And one last thing I'm going to mention before I sign off. Last season, if I recall correctly, we had one game where we won by a single goal. That was a huge narrative last season. That 1-goal games killed us. They tanked our season. This year, 3 of our 4 wins have come by 1 goal. And this was like a proper 1-goal game. It was not, them scoring a goal late where we were up by 2 throughout most of the game. We were kind of on cruise control and with 10 seconds left, they score. Now, we also had a few of our 2-goal games where it was a 1-goal game, and with 13 seconds left, we scored to make it 4-2 instead of 3-2. But our multi-goal win this season, our 3-1 win, it was final minute cruise control. We were up 2. We'd been up 2. We were up 3-0 at the end of the second period. New York got 1 back in the third, and then we locked it up. These are the games that we wanted last season. This is the play that we wanted last season. We're winning those tight-fought battles. Instead of the clutch goal with 1:10 left being what burns us, it's being what saves us. It's us getting just a little bit more goaltending and a little bit more offense. New York's goaltending was really good. I can't deny it. Ours was just a little bit better. Their players looked good. We looked a little bit better. And now, we get to go back home. I am so excited for the Charge to return to Ottawa, to return to TD. It's going to be a blast, and hopefully, fingers crossed, because it's never happened before, and I don't want to jinx it, but hopefully we can see something monumental for Charge history. And as always, go Ottawa, go!